Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And after the court case yesterday, which found Boris Johnson had misled the Queen and prorogued Parliament unlawfully, of course, there are a lot of calls for Boris Johnson to step down or to be removed. And I'm going to suggest that there are reasons for keeping him exactly where he is. But first, if you find yourself enjoying the video, then don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. So first of all, if any of you missed the court case, I'll give you a very brief rundown of how it went. So from the government's point of view, they sent attorneys that basically said, right, here's our argument to the Supreme Court. Our argument is that Boris Johnson didn't lie about his reasons for proroguing. His reasons for proroguing were all perfectly fair and above board, to which the Supreme Court said, oh, how interesting. Have you got a witness statement to that effect? No, we don't. Oh. Are you going to give us a witness statement to that effect? No. Oh, how disappointing. Have you got any other arguments for your case? Yes, we've got another argument to our case. This is none of your business. We think it is our business. Oh. Any other arguments? No, that's it. So, have we won the case? No, not really. And there we go. So, what is happening now is, obviously Boris Johnson has committed a heinous act that other prime ministers, if they'd have even done half of what he's done, would have resigned. But then the point is this, isn't it? Any prime minister with the sort of honour that would have caused them to resign in a situation like this wouldn't have done what he's done anyway. Some prime ministers have sort of done some pretty dodgy things and they've sort of known they really shouldn't. But Boris Johnson behaves with no shame. In fact, I'm now coming to the conclusion that the reason he calls himself Boris, which is not his first name's Alexander, is because it's a rather neat little acronym. Bereft of reason, intellect, scruples. Makes sense really, doesn't it, when you think about it? But anyway, he's not going to resign. He could be replaced. The way to replace him is perfectly simple. Jeremy Corbyn, as leader of the opposition, could issue a vote of no confidence. That would have to be heard. And then if enough MPs supported it, then you've got this 14-day period where either you have to get behind another prime minister or there's a general election. They don't want a general election at the moment because they need to be in session when the extension has to be obtained. That's very, very important. Parliament dare not go for a general election until they have secured the extension. They have not done so yet. Legally, it should happen, but they need to be in session to make sure it happens. So they're not going to do that, and they can't get behind a candidate. Jeremy Corbyn wants it to be him, even though yet again yesterday in his speech he was talking about Boris Johnson being unelected. Jeremy Corbyn would be unelected on the same basis, but he still insists that it should be him. Others insist it should be someone else. The SNP have been talking about the fact that they believe that they've been pushing for a vote of no confidence. They believe that Jeremy Corbyn will issue one. They believe that it can get through. We'll see later today, I suppose. I don't know, but I don't think they should, even if they could. And there's definitely a moral case for this. And I've called in the past for them to just replace him if they were going to do it in the right way, absolutely. But that was part of that was going to be issuing a public vote, deal with Brexit, then have a general election. The problem with doing that now is Boris Johnson at the moment is supported by a load of people who want him to break the law. They're irate at the judges. They're absolutely appalled at the judges. They're absolutely appalled at Parliament. These institutions that they said wanted to have full control, that they were upset that the EU seems to be controlling them, which is absolute rubbish anyway. Now that they've seen that these bodies actually do have control, well, they don't like it. But they still say they want them to have control. It's really weird. And Boris Johnson is saying that he's not going to, we're definitely leaving October the 31st. And whenever he's said, but hang on a minute, the Ben Act means that legally, if you can't get a deal through, we are not leaving October 31st, or at least not from the British point of view. Obviously, it's up to the EU Council whether we get an extension or not. Boris Johnson just keeps saying that although he won't break the law, we are leaving on that date. Contradictory. And this is why they shouldn't replace him just yet. At the moment, and his supporters don't see through the doublespeak there. They don't see through the contradiction. So they need to. They need to wait until Boris Johnson has been compelled to seek the extension. Force him to seek the extension. Make him bow before Parliament's might. Sounds rather sadistic, that, doesn't it? But that's what they need to do. They need to break him down. They need to stop him behaving as if he is a law unto himself. Judges have said he's not a law unto himself, but everyone's annoyed at the judges. They need to make Boris Johnson do something he said he would never do. He said he'd rather die in a ditch. I strongly suspect he wouldn't really. I think he was exaggerating a tad. And so what they should do, keep him in power, keep legislating to remove his power, but keep him in number 10. Make sure that it's absolutely watertight, and make sure there's a backup plan just in case he does refuse to sign it. Because, you know, it would be ideal if Boris Johnson were actually forced to comply with the law and sign the document, the letter going off to the council. But if worse came to worse and he refused to do it, well, haul him in front of the Supreme Court again. But if they have some backup mechanism, is there some other mechanism for getting that letter to the EU Council which is still valid? After all, it would be on the authority of Parliament. That's what they need to do. And it makes no difference at the moment who's in number 10, quite frankly. It actually makes no difference. It's really just for a few more weeks. So, you know, a couple of months. Just keep going with that. Make him look small. Make him look weak. Because that is the problem. He has had his balls snipped at the moment. Keep him in that emaciated position. You know, is... just absolutely keep him in that weakened, impotent position for as long as possible in the full glare of the public, ranting and raving. Just make him look like a man who shouts at ducks at the park. Simple as that. And you beat Boris Johnson because you beat the idea of him, because the idea of him turns to ashes. So that's why I think they should leave him in number 10, focus on more urgent matters, focus on the matters that Parliament needs to do. They know they don't need the government's cooperation, so they don't need to be in government to deal with the Brexit extension. That's the number one priority. After that, if Jeremy Corbyn insists on the election, which it really looks like he's going to, okay, then we'll have the general election and then we'll see from there. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you'd like to support the channel further, then please click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.